All right, we're on.
Yep.
So,
First time ever.
yeah, first time. Except for yesterday when we tried
Except for
this.
like what is it? The practice round.
Yeah,
And then which wasn't supposed to be practice round, and then we're like, no, that was a practice round.
yeah. So, we're on again. Hopefully this time we're gonna make it all the way through and we're not gonna be interrupted because of uh,
Technical failures.
or kids that don't go to sleep. Yeah,
Well, she's sick. It's not her fault.
yeah, that's a good point.
Poor baby.
Um, all right. So, today is hopefully our first episode of Dragons Are Real. And
Dragons are real.
Dragons Are Real. That is what we are titling our podcast.
Yep.
And we're excited about it. We're going to talk about why and, uh, well, I guess we're talking about
So
it now.
why dragons are real, Mr. Cody?
Why dragons are real, Mr. Cody.
Mr. Cody. I'm so used to calling you that from church.
Yeah.
Mr. Cody.
So I used to be a kids pastor, and for years, people call me Mr. Cody. So yeah, I'm used to that one. But anyways, the reason why we are doing this podcast is because we feel called to
Yeah.
speak out, to be bold, to share things that the church isn't always talking about, especially in regards to the huge spiritual cosmic war that's going on. That's not just spiritual, but it's physical also. I think a lot of times we try to say it's just spiritual, but a lot of this stuff is real. It's present.
Affecting our physical lives.
Exactly. And so we feel called to do that. Why dragons are real? Why is that the title? Dragons Are Real came to us because one, we wanted it to be kind of fun and entertaining.
Whimsical,
Yeah.
fantasy-like.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of Lord of the Rings type of feel to it. But in the Bible, there is mention of a dragon that we are at war with.
Mhm.
And, in culture around the world, you always hear about stories of the dragon, or dragons and fighting these dragons. And I think there's a real serious aspect to it that's not just myth and it's not just legend.
Mhm.
And we're going to dive into that in this podcast. Not this specific episode. In future episodes, we're going to jump into more of those types of things and what it looks like to engage with this beast. So, anyways, that's kind of what the podcast is going to be about. We're excited about it. We're going to talk about some crazy stuff, some really in-depth spiritual stuff, like I mentioned, some things that the church doesn't talk about.
And some practical stuff like marriage and raising kids and how to raise your kids in this world.
Exactly. In this war that we're in, it's all centered around the war that Adam and Eve entered into whenever they ate from the forbidden fruit. So yeah, we're gonna talk about all sorts of things.
But today is gonna be slightly different.
Today is different.
Today's actually not. We actually did not intend to start this early. We actually intended to plan this out a little bit more, be a few months out. But with everything that has happened this week, we felt really called to comment on it. We felt like
we couldn't stay silent.
Really moved. We couldn't stay silent. So everyone, I assume, listening knows that last week Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and we have chosen to use this time to honor him, to honor his legacy, to honor his mission. After that happened, we felt very called to comment on this, and we felt like this was something needed. I felt like it would have been disobedient of us to not make this our first episode. Disobedient to God.
Yeah,
I think that it is. I think we wanted to pick up the torch where Charlie left off and continue his mission. And I think that this is one of the best ways that we could honor him.
Yeah, especially since this is the first episode. I mean, what better way to go about a podcast that's going to be dealing with all these things that we're about to talk about coming up in the future than what better way to start it off with his legacy, what he's done, what he believed in the war that he fought so well.
So this podcast will be a little bit less upbeat than normal. Normally we try to be our goofy selves, but this particular episode will be a little more it's a little more heavy, a little more solemn, and so our tone will be slightly different than we plan on going forward. Yeah. We hope you guys still get something out of it. I pray that whoever listens to this will be comforted, and whoever's grieving will be comforted, and also will be fired up to take action moving forward.
Yeah. So, first thing, Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
A man that passed away a little over a week ago now at the time of this recording. Who is Charlie Kirk? Holly, do you want to give kind of a rundown of him and his life?
Yeah, most of you probably know who he is, but if you don't, I have a really good friend of mine who didn't know who he was. So I'm just going to go over the bio, actually, that Turning Point USA has on their site. I won't read the whole thing. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit, but here's a little bit about him. So Charlie Kirk is the founder and president of Turning Point USA, a national student movement dedicated to identifying, organizing, and empowering young people to promote principles of free markets and limited government. With a presence of over 3,000 high school and college campuses. Foreshadowing, it's a lot more than that now. Over, I don't know if foreshadowing is the right word. What's the word? Like, not plot twist, but spoiler alert. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Spoiler alert, a lot more now. Over 650,000 lifetime student members, a lot more now. And then 450 full and part-time staff. It is the largest and fastest growing conservative youth activist organization in the country. At just 30 years old, Charlie has done thousands of media appearances, and his writings can be seen on Fox News, The Hill, and then they go on to list a lot more. Charlie was previously named to the Forbes 30 Under 30 list and was the youngest speaker at the 2016 Republican National Convention, as well as the opening speaker at the 2020 RNC. He's the author of 4 books, including the #1 Amazon New York Times bestseller, The MAGA Doctrine, The Only Ideas That Will Win the Future. And in 2022, he released The College Scam, How America's Universities Are Bankrupting and Brainwashing Away the Future of America's Youth. And then he has another book coming out. Well, I guess no, it was back in 2024 it was released. The Right-Wing Revolution, How to Beat the Woke and Save the West. His social media reaches over 100 million people per month, and Axios has listed Charlie as one of the top 10 most engaged handles in the world. He is the host of the Charlie Kirk Show podcast, which is downloaded over 120 million times, which, again, I think it's a lot more now, in the last 12 months, and regularly ranks among the top 10 shows in Apple and news podcast charts. Charlie Kirk Show is also a nationally syndicated live radio show on 150 radio stations. It's listened to, watched, streamed over 1 million people every day. He is best well known, I think, besides ultimately being one of the main reasons why Trump won the 2024 election. But I think the other biggest well-known thing that he does is debate college students on college campuses, going out in public and debating them.
Definitely. I would say that's what most people knew him for.
Yeah. The thousands of videos online of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He talked in some other videos about what his life missions were. Right.
Yeah.
And he said that the #1 most important thing in the world is to share Jesus, share the gospel. And then he said the second most important thing in the world is to make sure you can do the first thing.
Yeah.
And he said that he felt like his calling was in that second part, to make sure that we, as the church, as pastors, as Christians, could share the gospel of Jesus Christ, through political actions, through government, through activism, etc. One more thing. So I'm going to read a little bit of Turning Point's statement on his death. I think a couple of these things are really good descriptions of him. So it says, Charlie believed in the power of argument and good faith debate to find the truth and guide people towards, if not agreement, then at least mutual understanding. Charlie was no stranger to threats. He received thousands throughout his life, but he prioritized reaching as many young Americans as possible over his own personal safety. Now Charlie has become America's greatest martyr to the freedom of speech. He's so adored. In his 31 years, he lived more than any of us would in 100. He had an overwhelming passion for life and deep belief in the power of an individual to make a difference. With the spirit of a pioneer, Charlie launched Turning Point, and at 18, he refused to squander a single day of life. He was a natural builder and problem solver. It goes on. It says that he was fundamentally decent, always eager to make new friends and allies. His values were timeless American ones: honesty, forthrightness, duty, loyalty, and fair play. It says Charlie loved America, its people, its constitution, its freedom, and the limitless good all of them had done for the world. But above all, Charlie lived every day with an overflowing love of the Christ he knew he would one day get to see. When asked, Charlie said that above all, he wished to be remembered for his faith. Far more than any political victory, Charlie wanted to see a spiritual revival among America's youth. He wanted a nation happy, a nation of happy, thriving families who loved God and each other. At his final public speech, just days before his murder, he witnessed to Christ to an audience of non-believers. Even in his very last moment, Charlie was professing the gospel. He ran his race very well all the way till the end. Now he goes to his heavenly reward. That's really good. We can't say that about a lot of people.
Yeah. I wish we could.
Yeah. Hopefully we will be able to now.
Yeah. So his impact on the election, who was it that said that Trump wouldn't be president if it wasn't for Charlie Kirk?
There's a few people that have said that. I think even J.D. Vance has said that.
I think I heard it from J.D. Vance.
Yeah. They said that, and there was another guy, I think Seth Gruber, I think is one. He's, I think, a Turning Point USA member. He said that your life would be very different right now if it wasn't for Charlie Kirk. You would be living under Kamala Harris, and you would have very different culture of America.
Oh yeah, that's a whole thing. I mean, it would have gone real bad, real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. So, I mean, it only makes sense why the devil would be so mad and would want to take him out with a voice that powerful, you know?
Yeah, so speaking of that, so why there's millions of people around the world right now that are deeply impacted by his death, that are legitimately grieving his death, not just his family, not just his friends. People who've never met him before are genuinely grieving. And I can talk about how I feel in a second, but why do you think people are actually feeling that way about someone that they've never met before?
Well, I mean, first off, I think that our spirits can tell that there was something different that changed in the atmosphere whenever he died. You hear a lot of people talking about their grief. So many people, so many good Christian people have heard or have felt this feeling, even if they didn't know him very well or hardly at all. I remember Sadie Robertson's husband, Christian, he said that he didn't really know him at all, and he felt this very deep. And there's so many other people that did that also. But whenever you have a voice that's that bold and makes that much of a difference, the spiritual realm knows it. Yeah. And it is, I mean, he was impactful beyond what we can see. And it wasn't just the people around him, it was in the whole country, and it was in the whole world. Yeah. And we're going to get into that here in a little bit, how he impacted the world, not just here.
Well, and I think that there's, like you said, our spirits know, and our spirits can also feel the spiritual world and can feel the battles. And we don't think about this a lot, right? But I remember back to one episode of Michael Knowles when he had the seer on. Remember that episode? That was a really good episode. Those of you that have not watched it need to watch it. It's really insightful. So a seer is basically someone that can see into the spiritual realm.
Yeah, and they can't all be trusted.
No, of course not. But
this one,
he seemed reliable. I mean, I don't know him personally.
Yeah.
But even if he's not, it is an interesting way to look at the world, and I think that it's real. And so I think anyway, so a seer is someone who, if someone's legitimate, who can see into the spiritual realm.
They can be legitimate, but they can also be used for darkness, you know? Like, I mean, that can anyways, that's not the point. We can get into that in a different episode.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so in that episode he talks about literally seeing battles, like physical battles between angels and demons. And I think that we don't think about that as much, because we can't see it, but I think there's a literal battle happening right now that we can't see, literally, and I think that his assassination has sparked a literal battle that we can just feel in our
Yeah.
spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That there, for all we know, I don't know where it is. I don't know where in the spirit world this is happening, but I assume that we can feel the war that's happening right now. We just can't see it.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean, that's what this whole podcast is for, is to wake people up to that war and that reality of it.
yeah,
Charlie Kirk was doing that.
yeah, I know. So, yeah, so my personal feelings of like why it's impacted me so much. I mean, I didn't know him, and I've told this to I mean, not personally. I mean, I know obviously I followed him for a long time, but I did not know him personally. And I've told multiple people this is I have never felt this way about anyone that I have not known personally. Like it's not normal. Like I've never been a fangirl, I've never been someone who's just, one of those Taylor Swifties like
You weren't
throwing ourselves at people.
you weren't
Like
into the Jonas Brothers?
I was not.
Justin Bieber?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Really?
I've not been a fangirl of any. I mean, there's bands that I've liked, but I've never been someone that's like overly emotional about celebrities or anything. I've never been that way. Um, and this is the first time that I have like deeply felt for someone that I've never met.
Yeah.
And this was deeply emotional for me, and I legitimately feel like I'm grieving it, like like a loved one. And I've been thinking a lot about like why do I feel that way whenever I've never met him? I think it's for multiple reasons. I think number one, obviously I followed him for a long time. Um, but also whenever you see someone become a martyr, that's not something you see every day. And I think that deeply impacted me, right? I think that number one, just my heart is just aches, right, to see someone who is spreading the gospel, who is a godly man, who was murdered right in front of your eyes. You've seen videos of this guy being
Yeah.
murdered, which I
And
wish I had not seen, but
well, also, like, there's people that die around the world that are martyred, this is one of the rare situations where it's happened in the United States like this
and it's very
to this
public.
extent.
Yeah.
And that was the crazy thing, is how public this was.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that it was public. It was public, but it was also he wasn't a nobody. He was definitely a somebody with a loud voice that
He
impacted
was
tons of people.
bold and
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that, and I think also my spirit just feels it. And I think also on top of that, right, is now that I'm a mom, I see it so differently. I see Erica, I see his kids, and I think that's what hurts me the most. I see, his little daughter, those videos of her, and I think about her asking, "Where's daddy?" And even she said that, Erica said that in her message, and it's like, "Where's daddy?" Like, what do you say? Like, it's just devastating, like, to think about coming home to a house and him not coming back to see her, and, like, her running to the door to see him, he's not there. And he should have been there. He should have been there to tuck her in at night. He should have been there to raise her, to protect his family, his 2 kids and his wife, to raise them, to protect them, to guide them, to steward them. It should have been like that. And so it's just absolutely devastating. Absolutely devastating. And just picturing, a little girl not knowing what happened to her dad and him just not coming back. I mean, it's just devastating. Um, and I think that that's hit me really hard, and I think that I've had to do a lot of work trying to give that to God over the last few days. I mean, I remember I was just like, just crying for a few days, and I think that every time I just thought about Erica and her kids, it was just devastating, and it just hurt so much, and, I've had to genuinely, like, every day wake up and be like, I can't do anything about this, like, I can't help them. You know, I mean, can Charlie be he can't be replaced in the public forum. You know, he was one of a kind, but there can be other people that are raised up to be bold and to
Oh,
be,
yeah. I mean, there's,
fighters for Christ.
yeah,
But
I've seen the post go around, and I completely agree with it that, that Charlie Kirk died, but millions of other Charlie Kirks have been
yeah.
made.
Yeah,
Um,
and so, like, I think that is he's one of a kind, and that is true, but can be other people that do the same thing, maybe not as well, but, he can't be replaced in his family. And
yeah,
so that, like, hurts deeply every time I think about it. I think every single day I've been like, "Okay, God, please take this. Like, I can't fix it. Like,
yeah,
take it from me." I think that's been the most painful part for me. And then the other part is that post that has been going around from the guy named Chad Prather, which it's a good post. So I'll just kind of paraphrase it. It says, "The reason you feel Charlie's death so deeply is because grief doesn't measure itself by proximity, it measures itself by meaning. You didn't have to know him personally to feel the sting of his absence, because when a voice like his goes silent, something in the atmosphere shifts. The reason it feels heavier than so many other tragedies is because your spirit recognizes that this is not just about a man, it's about a battle. Scripture says eternity is written on our hearts, and when someone who has carried the truth with boldness is suddenly gone, eternity aches with us. It's like our souls instinctively know instinctively that darkness celebrated and that strikes us at the core." So the last thing I'll say before I move on is just if you did not watch Erica's speech, you need to. I mean, it was powerful. It's about maybe 30 minutes long. I can't remember, maybe less. I don't know. But that one part is circulating that we heard in the video about the cries of the widow echoing across the earth is just so powerful. Another part that is not being passed around as much is the part where she is obviously she's crying and she cries out, "God is so good." And to me, that was just so moving and so powerful. And because I'm sitting here thinking, this woman just lost her husband, the father of her children. Her life is never going to be the same again. This is the most devastating thing anyone can ever go through. And she says, "God is so good." That was just something that I'm like, wow. And I hope to one day be able to be that strong. And yeah, that's it.
all right. So now let's go ahead and get into the question of, is Charlie a martyr? I know that question's been going around like crazy. Some people believe it, some people don't believe that he was. My take is that he was 100% definitely a martyr, and I think you agree with that as
Yeah,
well.
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't think he was, I mean, you're just wrong. I
Yeah.
mean, you're just wrong.
Well,
So,
cuz so people say that he wasn't because he just did politics,
which is
which
not true.
is just
Which is
totally
not
untrue.
true.
He cared way more about biblical things,
He said that a million times.
and he did politics because he cared about the biblical
Yeah.
stuff. Um, yeah. So one, the most interesting thing that I feel like proves
About his death.
about his death,
Yeah.
um, maybe not proves that he's a martyr, but shows something incredibly interesting
Yeah.
from a spiritual perspective, is that when he got shot in the neck
Mm-hmm.
and
In the throat.
in the
Yeah.
throat,
Yeah.
and the throat is where the voice originates, and there's a lot of meaning behind that specifically. The devil, all the demons, all the evil spirits, unclean spirits, they have one thing that they care the most about, and that is to stop the spreading of the gospel from happening. And that happens through our words and our voice. And so Charlie Kirk was specifically targeted, maybe known by whoever it was that shot him, whether it was that boy that they keep saying it was, or if something was beyond that, and it wasn't just him, or it wasn't him at all. I don't,
I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracy theories, but we're not going to get into
yeah,
that.
we
We're
won't
not
get
getting
into
to
that
that.
right now.
But yeah.
But the point is, whether that person who made the shot knew exactly what they were doing, I definitely believe that there was a spirit behind that that was guiding that bullet and targeting him in a specific way to take out his
His
voice, to
voice.
take out the power within his voice.
Symbolically and literally. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a quote that I think we have later in here, but it says, the devil can't debate because there's nothing to stand on, and so he just wants to silence us.
Mm.
Yeah, so there was also a quote from a really good pastor named Josh Howerton, and he put this post out there. Let's see if I can find it.
We'll get into this in a second, but there's a lot of pastors that haven't said much about this at all. A lot that I've actually been disappointed in because you have a martyr that dies in front of people, and so many people are impacted by it, and pastors aren't saying anything. Now, I'm not saying that's every pastor. There are many pastors that did this right, but to the ones that didn't, it's upsetting. But Josh Howerton was one who spoke about this so much, and he really understood the
spiritual battle behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool. So go ahead and share what you were going to say.
It's just a really short post, and I was just like, oh, this is exactly what I've been thinking about. It says 2025, Charlie Kirk wasn't a martyr. He wasn't killed for Christ. He was killed for opposing transgenderism. And then it says 30 AD, John the Baptist wasn't a martyr. He wasn't killed for Christ. He was killed for criticizing Herod's marriage. And it's just making the point, it's just like a satire, making a point of, obviously they're both martyrs, obviously. And if you go back into the Bible to all the martyrs that were there, I'm sure there were people in biblical times that were looking at these people and were like, that guy was, killed because of X, Y, Z. He's not a martyr. I guarantee you there were people saying that back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was definitely interesting. Another pastor who did really great at this, and like I said, there were many of them. There were a few that didn't do good, but there were many that did. Mike Signorelli, if you do not follow him, you definitely should. He talks about, he's just a well-rounded pastor that knows about so many different topics and subjects.
Yeah, he's bold.
Yeah, and he's super bold. And if you want to talk about demonic warfare, things like that, Mike Signorelli is definitely someone to follow for all that. But I know it was crazy. So his story is 3 days before the assassination happened, he was somewhere, I think he was overseas or something. He was giving a sermon, and he said that the Lord told him to change the title of his sermon to The Turning Point, which is, I mean, you wouldn't know it at the time, but now, after what happened, he was like, oh my gosh, like, this is the reason why, I was told to change it to The Turning Point. It's his whole mission is to get people to turn away from their sin and their life that leads to death, and follow God and follow God's ways and things like that. So that was extremely interesting too. And just when God speaks to people like that, something's up. Those aren't just coincidences. Those are purposeful moments that God used to, because he knew what was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, let's talk about the shooter real fast, that the supposed shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about him.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on him just because.
Yeah, we don't have to. I don't want to either.
It's just.
But
I don't want to make him famous. I'm not going to say his name.
But talk about real fast. How do we know that there was something
demonic here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so it's again, I don't know all the facts. I don't know. This is all alleged claims, but it is alleged that he had a boyfriend who is transitioning to a female.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly there's already some identity, like lost identities in there. He grew up apparently with a father who was a police officer who was very conservative and very who I think was Christian. And then I guess he went off and did a year at college or something, and then moved in with this man. And I think the bullets supposedly were engraved with some trans ideology. So the assumption here is that he murdered him for trans reasons, is the assumption. Again, I don't know what's true. I don't know, but whenever you start literally losing your identity, that's a very dangerous territory to be in.
Yeah. And at that point, anything, whether you want it to or not, when you start forgetting who God created you to be and and what your identity is, you begin to allow things into your life that maybe you're not trying to allow them, but you got a door open into your heart, and there's things that can come in. I'm not even saying that they were demon possessed or anything like that. I'm just saying when you're in a moment, or when you're making decisions that are against God's rules and against who God is, just as a person, you are opening yourself to be influenced, whether within or outward influence by evil spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave that there. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that we don't want to entertain. So let's move on. So positive response from the world. I mean, overwhelming response. I mean, across the world response. You've seen vigils. Some of them were shown in the tribute video. There's vigils all over the world. There's tributes to him all over the world. One of the biggest ones was there was a march. So if you guys don't follow Tommy Robinson, you need to be. He's basically trying to save Britain from the Islamic takeover. And so they had one of their marches, I think, that was already planned. It was, I don't know, like a million people, ridiculous number of people. And they actually started carrying American flags and like shouting Charlie's name, just a ton of people. And then, I mean, other, like I said, vigils were seen across the world.
It's so cool how someone over here in America who stands for their own country could make such an impact for other people to stand up for their country and biblical values.
Oh, yeah.
Over there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not
kind of the positive thing of social media and internet nowadays.
Yeah.
We can talk about all the negatives, but that is something that is positive.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about the church record attendance. I mean, I've seen so many stories online where it's like, I haven't been to church in 50 years and now I'm going to go because of Charlie. I haven't been to church and I've never been to church and now I'm going to go because of Charlie.
Yeah.
Or, I'm taking my kids for the first time. Or,
there's also so many people that got baptized this past Sunday because churches knew. A lot of churches knew what was happening, and they knew people were going to be flocking to churches.
So
and so they ended up doing baptisms on Sundays.
Yeah.
I know we were at a church.
We were visiting a church.
Yeah, we were visiting a church.
And they did do baptisms there.
Yeah, and there were tons of people getting baptized, and that happened everywhere.
Yeah.
And so that was really cool also.
Yeah. And then not only that, but so whenever this let's put it this way, whenever I say this started, so before he was assassinated, there were around 3,000 chapters of Turning Point USA, and now they have over 50,000 new requests for registrations.
Which is absolutely crazy. I mean, whatever demonic influence was trying to take out Charlie Kirk's voice, they completely failed at doing so because now so many people are just picking up the voice, picking up the torch and running with it. So, I mean, the devil definitely overplayed his hand there for sure.
I quickly Googled how many cities are in America, and there's about a little over 19,000 cities in America. Okay? So that means there's 50,000 chapter requests in a country of 19,000 cities. That is more than one a city.
That is crazy.
I mean, of course, they're probably concentrated in certain areas, but just to think about it. Okay. Apparently, Charlie, another outcome. Charlie's podcast, I think, hit number 1 on all the charts. And then just the other update that was recent is that his wife Erica is now the CEO and the chair of the board of directors of Turning Point USA.
Which to me just, I mean, I felt like that was kind of obviously going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, of course. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did, and so something actually I didn't comment on earlier, but I did actually see them in conference back in June, I think, or...
It was recent.
It was recent.
Yeah.
sometime recent. I actually saw them in person, and they are amazing. I mean, they were just full of joy, full of wisdom, so kind. Um, yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about them and whenever I actually was able to see them, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
So, you want to get
Well,
on to the
real quick, but the other thing is really cool is that nobody's rioting.
Yeah.
And nobody's, throwing fits, especially the people who are in support of him.
Yeah.
Nobody's doing that.
There's been no one having to
There's
board up their
prayer.
windows. There's been no one having to protect themselves from, Molotov cocktails.
Yeah.
There's been no looting. I feel like that says something for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. So now let's go ahead and go on to the dark side of things that are taking place.
Yeah, so obviously there's going to be a negative side to this because there is evil in the world, right? Were you surprised at all about people celebrating his death?
No, definitely not. It was crazy that this moment, it only revealed the character of people in the United States, but also in just around the world. It brought out the true colors of people, and
just how absolutely lost and deceived they are.
Yeah, and you have to expect that if you think about the war that's going on and how so many people have been deceived and coerced into believing this anti-God agenda. I think there's many more people who are demonized than we think, and
demonized in the sense of like are being influenced / possessed by demons. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So it didn't surprise me one bit. Did it surprise you?
No. Not only does it show people's depravity and just callousness and just evilness that they've taken on, but it also shows Satan's hand in culture and politics, and because it just shows how the result of what happens when one whole side of the country is deceived by their media, by celebrities, by social media. I mean, if you for 10 years are telling the left that these people are evil, that these people are Nazis, that these people are, like Hitler come back, and you have just created this bubble of deception. I mean, you're gonna get things like this happening.
Yeah. Well, one other thing about like how it didn't surprise me. The Bible talks about how I mean Jesus basically assumes that he doesn't assume. He knows that this is just going to be normal. People are going to be persecuted because of him and what he stood for. So if Jesus knew it, if Jesus was persecuted, if we hear about persecutions happening in the Bible, if many of the disciples were martyred, then obviously it's going to happen still today whenever you're actually doing what you're really supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And the devil's definitely going to target the people who are the biggest threats to him.
Yeah.
You got a lot of people sitting on the sidelines not doing anything. Charlie Kirk was one that was in the fight.
Yeah.
Doing something.
Yeah.
Hopefully this wakes up a lot of people to get in the ring and do it also.
Yeah. Well, and we can't stand by and also let the left media
Sorry, say that one more time.
We also can't stand by and let the left media spew lies and violent rhetoric toward people. Like that can't be acceptable anymore. It can't be claiming that the right is being violent. Like if you are being violent and you're genuinely not saying anything violent, and if you're being claimed that you are violent, someone's going to act violently because they think that you are violent. And so that just cannot be acceptable anymore. And I think that at this point you have to hit a breaking point. You have to hit a turning point of we're not going to accept this anymore. We are going to stand up and speak truth in love, and no more are we going to sit back and let lies be spewed and then lives at stake.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing about Charlie is that on the left, and one of the reasons why, so many people are evilly celebrating this is that there's so many misconceptions on who he was and how he debated. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, there's some really good debunks online right now. So there's a couple that the Daily Wire put out of examples of, you calling him racist. Here's an example of what the actual context of that comment was, and so if you have any questions, like, go to those debunking pages or go watch a full video of him, because every single time someone calls him a racist or a sexist or whatever, a hateful person, every single time it is taken out of context. Every single time. His comments are taken out of context. It's clipped. It's whatever. And so if you go and you can see Charlie literally debating people that are trans. You can see him debating black people. You can see him debating people that have completely different values than him. And every single time he was kind and he let them speak and he wanted to speak to them. And he spoke to them with grace and with truth and love. So that's just something that people have to educate themselves on. Another thing about cheering on his death, it made me think, it brought the Bible to life more to me, because, you don't always think about when Jesus was crucified. You don't always think about what that was actually like with people cheering. Right?
Yeah.
It's not something that clicks in your head. And then when things like this happen, you're like, oh my gosh, like genuinely people were cheering on Jesus' death. Like genuinely. And is saying the same things, probably similar to what are being said now. So let's go on to our feelings about how Christians responded. Yeah. So I was pretty disappointed in some. So we'll get to churches in a second, but I'm talking about individual Christians. I was pretty disappointed in a lot of individual Christians' response to this, because a lot of them qualified their statements. So they would say things like, oh, well, I didn't agree with everything Charlie said, but he didn't deserve this. Or, I mean, people on neither side would have deserved some. No, people on the left nor the right would have deserved something like this. That just sickens me, because to me, that's so weak to say that. Say it for what it is. This was evil. A good man was murdered in cold blood in front of your eyes, and that's that, period. And so qualifying it with, well, I didn't really agree with him, or, oh, well, you might not have agreed with him, or, oh, well, no one deserved this. No, that's weak. Do not talk like that. This is evil. He was a good man. He was a God-fearing man, and he was murdered.
Yeah.
For what he stood for. Period.
Yeah, well, people want to be politically correct. They're worried about offending other people. And that's something we have to break in our culture today, because everybody wants to be nice and nobody wants to be
nice
truth
and
telling.
Kind.
Yeah.
The difference between nice and kind. Nice is just telling people what they want to hear, and not want to upset people's feelings. Being kind is speaking the truth to people in love. Not truth hatefully, the truth in love.
Yep.
I liked this quote from someone online. It said, I'll just paraphrase it. It says, adding the preface, regardless of your political views, before commenting on the atrocity committed against Charlie, who are you exactly trying to appeal to? It says, we aren't just grieving a stranger who was assassinated. We're grieving a brother in Christ who was martyred for advancing the kingdom of God. If you are scared to affiliate with a man of God like that, like Charlie Kirk as your brother in Christ, I worry that you may be a part of the wrong kingdom. And I love that, because that's saying, okay, so are you so weak and scared to speak truth and be bold in this moment, so you're more beholden to evil than you are light, is what I hear. The way I hear, you're more worried about offending people who are on the wrong side than standing up for what you believe. That's just, it was just weak, in my opinion. The other thing I didn't like is when people were saying, oh, this, it was a senseless act. I mean, I get the gist of what they're trying to say. It was cold, it was calloused, right? I get that. Whenever I hear the words senseless act, to me, and nothing against the one that said that, because I know that was said probably in good intentions, but I'm just being a little picky here, but whenever I hear senseless act, I immediately go, no, it wasn't senseless. It was intentional. That was intentional and that was evil. And so I don't want to just brush over it and say, oh, it was this senseless
Yeah,
act.
senseless act sounds like. Uh, uh, I agree totally. I mean, it's like it's like you really didn't think that there was any plan to what took place. Like people didn't think it out, like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think people did that just no harm. Like, I don't think people were trying to say something wrong there. It's just, that's just something that bothered me. And then now, church's responses. So,
Yeah. So, like we mentioned, a lot of churches handled it very well. There were some that didn't. So
like, let me just say this. Like, that, just preface this with everything. And this is a strong opinion, I know, but I'm a strongly opinionated person, and I do truly believe this. And I think you maybe disagree with me a little bit, but my opinion is if your church did not mourn and honor Charlie as a martyr, then you need to find a new church. I truly believe that.
my opinion on that is just you got I you have to figure out why.
Yeah.
Why did they not say anything? Because maybe I don't know. Maybe I think there can be a young pastor that just is trying to figure it all out.
Yeah.
You might have someone like that. You might have a pastor that it just affected them so much. I heard of one guy the other day, the Ninjas Are Butterflies podcast. He's not a pastor, obviously, but I mean, he said he couldn't talk about it for a while because he has really bad anxiety and panic attacks.
Yeah.
And so every time he would think about it, his body wouldn't be able to, his body just wasn't able to handle it. You might have a pastor like that. If those aren't the reasons, though, and it's not
it's because
something
they didn't want to, quote, offend anyone, or they didn't want to, quote, be political. That drives me insane.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not for those reasons, I do think you might need to start looking for another church, or you stand up and be the voice in that church and you make a difference and you change the culture of that church because that's not right. That's not the right culture.
Yeah. I mean, so two things on that is, number one, this was not only political. Okay, this was spiritual. And can you imagine being a church back in biblical times and not talking about the disciples that were murdered? I mean, like, that would be crazy, right? Second thing of, even if it is political, right? Why would the church not talk about it? Like, you're telling me these pastors who claim that, oh, churches shouldn't be political. I mean, I 100% disagree with that. 100%. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I agree. We have a lot of figures in the Bible that were politicians. Moses governed Israel. He was a politician. Joshua succeeded as Israel's leader. And he was a politician. Elijah spoke with politicians. Joseph was the second in command under the Pharaoh of Egypt. Deborah was a warrior for Israel. Samuel anointed the kings. David was the king of Israel. He was a politician. Solomon was the king of Israel, a politician. Josiah was the king of Judah. Nehemiah was the governor of Judah, cupbearer in the Persian king, or to the Persian king. Esther was the queen of Persia, had the ear of the king. Daniel was an official in Babylon and Persia. And then you have Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were officials in Babylon. You also have John the Baptist, who was trying to speak out to King Herod.
Like an activist, kind of.
Yes, and trying to counsel the guy. They were all involved in politics and all involved in rules.
Yeah.
All involved in the way things were set up. Charlie Kirk knew this, and he was one of those people, because if we don't have those people setting it up, what's crazy is the devil cares a whole lot about our government.
Mm-hmm.
The devil and his angels, the evil spirits, they are demons. They are all involved for sure, 100% in the government system.
Yeah.
it doesn't take long for you to watch some things and figure out that looks a little demonic to me.
Mhm.
If the devil cares so much about that, Christians should all the more.
Well, in politics create policy, and policy governs the way we live. And is it not our mission to, number one, spread the gospel and also bring heaven to earth? Like, we do not, like, we should be influencing how our government is run, because don't we want the world to mimic heaven as closely as possible as we can make it? I mean, there's this quote from Josh Howard, and again, that was really good, that I liked it. It said, if godly voices go silent, then the only voices that are left are the godless ones. Politics cannot save anyone from hell, but it can save us from pulling hell into our city, states, and nations. And I love that.
No, that is extremely good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So people who say, oh, the church shouldn't be political or whatever, that's just, I mean, to me, that's ridiculous, because if we have to vote on it, we have to care about it. The church should care about it.
Yeah.
It affects our lives. It affects our culture. It affects how we live.
Mm-hmm. All right. So with all that being said, I think the next question is, what do we do now?
Yeah.
Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
So speak on that.
Yeah. So let's first talk about like the people who are celebrating, who are now seeing repercussions of that, right? So a lot of these people we've seen are getting fired for celebrating Charlie's death. And the most notable recently was Jimmy Kimmel, right? Was fired from ABC for making a comment about how the shooter was MAGA, which is completely false. It was a complete lie.
Although his stats did come out, and
I know
they're not so high.
His stats plummeted this year, you guys, already, and it's down like plummeted. And so, I mean, honestly, like, so being in the corporate world, you kind of know, like, it's really hard to fire someone. Typically, you have to have like a really good reason to fire someone, and it's a process. And so, I kind of feel like ABC was like, we kind of want to get rid of him, but like we can't really. He said this thing. Okay, well now we can get rid of him.
Yeah,
I mean, to be honest.
Now, regardless of that, if they were just to fire him based off what he said, do you think that would have been fine?
So that's a really good question. So the debate comes here of like, okay, so here's one quote that I really liked, that what I think actually, I can't remember if Charlie said this, but it was, freedom of speech does not mean freedom from consequences. Freedom of speech never guaranteed that you would not have consequences for your actions. So, for example, if I go and cuss out my boss at work, probably I'm going to get fired. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I cannot go and be like, but that was my freedom of speech. Like, no, there are still consequences for what you have. Freedom of speech means you're not going to be politically imprisoned or murdered by your government for your speech. Okay? It means that I will not be jailed for me having free speech, or I will not be murdered for free speech by my government. That's really what freedom of speech means. Now, when it comes to like the nuances of political figures censoring people and all of that, now there is like a slight a thing about, was the FCC like trying to push ABC to cancel Jimmy Kimmel? I don't know about all that. I'm not informed enough about that. Do I think the government should really be pushing to censor people? No. But if you are fired by your private employer, like, I don't care.
Yeah, that's a totally different topic.
Yeah, and I think that
whenever it's your boss is doing this versus it is the culture and it is the government or whatever doing this, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, and I think that there also, you have to know that there is a difference between, and now Jimmy Kimmel did not like celebrate his assassination, but he did say a lie. So if you have a blatant lie and you're supposed to be a reliable
also
voice,
it wasn't even just a lie. It was in the form of a joke. Like a really bad joke, really bad timing.
Yeah.
Like,
inappropriate.
Really?
Like calloused, yeah. And so, I mean, I'm not bothered by him being fired. I think that now if we were, because he can also, the other thing too is that he's not being deplatformed from every platform. He can still go out and he can still be on X. He can still be on Instagram. He can still start a podcast. It's not like we're going, that the government is, now I would think it's wrong if the government went and said, Jimmy Kimmel can have no voice anywhere ever. We're going to censor him from every single platform. Yeah. That's wrong.
Well, see, and that's the difference. That's what people were trying to do.
People did do that to Trump. People did that to Trump.
Oh, yeah.
People literally, the left literally censored Trump, from every platform. That's why Trump had to make his own platform. He had to make his own platform called True Social because they censored him from everything. But now Jimmy Kimmel, one guy was fired from one job. Oh my gosh, now right is censoring people. Yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
And the crazy thing is people are thinking that he's the martyr, and they're forgetting that Charlie Kirk was actually the real martyr in this.
Yeah.
It just makes me mad.
Like, if you are more angry about Jimmy Kimmel getting fired from his job than Charlie Kirk being murdered, you are the problem.
You may need to check yourself.
Yeah, check yourself, because you're claiming that Jimmy Kimmel lost his job for something he said. Well, Charlie Kirk was literally murdered for something he said. Okay? So I can't even discuss it anymore. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, he has not been deplatformed from every single place. He still has the ability to go out there and have a voice. He was fired from one job. Boo-hoo. Like, I'm sorry. Then you get what you, I mean, you were fired, but from one person. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And I think that the other thing that, like, Allie Beth Stuckey said, I think I laugh because it's not funny, but like it's kind of so the way she said it was, there are consequences for celebrating someone's, again, Jimmy Kimmel did not necessarily celebrate assassination, but in terms of all the other people celebrating, she said, there are consequences for celebrating someone's assassination. It's not cancel culture. It's not your political opinion. No, you've got a character problem. Likely you're possessed by a demon, and if you're possessed by a demon, I don't want you to be a nurse, and I don't want to be I want you to be a kindergarten teacher. And I was like, thank you, yes. And also, again, you're being fired from a job. You're not being murdered for what you said. Like, Charlie was murdered for what you said, and you're getting fired from your job. Okay, your employer decided to fire you because what you said was evil. Like okay.
Let's go into, I've seen a lot of people talk about how we need to be united in this time.
Yeah.
The right party and with the left. What are your thoughts on that?
I've been wrestling with this a lot, to be honest, because I've seen a lot of people quote calling for unity. And I have been wrestling with this because now, do I wish that people would unify under Jesus? Like, do I want everyone to accept Jesus and unify under him, under God's word? Yes. But do I think we should unify someone with people that have blatantly opposite values of us? It depends on what you mean by unify. Like, should you unify? Like, should you say unify? Is that right? I think it's probably unite. Should you unite with those people? I mean, literally, Jesus. Are you going to read that verse?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and read it right
Jesus literally says in Scripture that he came to divide.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. It says from Luke 12:49 through 56. It says, "I have come to set the world on fire." Already, Jesus is just, that's
legit.
That's pretty cool. And I wish it were already burning. I have a terrible baptism of suffering ahead of me, and I am under heavy burden until it is accomplished. Do you think I have come to bring peace to earth? No. I have come to divide people against each other. From now on, families will be split apart, 3 in favor of me and 2 against, or 2 in favor and 3 against. Father will be divided against son, and son against father, mother against daughter, and daughter against mother, and mother-in-law against daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. Then Jesus turned to the crowd. When you see clouds beginning to form in the west, you say, "Here comes a shower," and you are right. When the south wind blows, you say, "Today will be a scorcher," and it is. You fools! You know how to interpret the weather signs of the earth and sky, but you don't know how to interpret the present times. First, I just want to say that Jesus was not always a nice person.
Or peaceful even. I mean...
And definitely that. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of times we try to act like Jesus and we don't think about, I mean, Jesus literally called people, you fools, you know?
Well, and he calls them like, what, vipers, I think at one point
yeah,
in the Bible
he says tons of things.
I mean,
he was very serious.
Yeah. I mean, he was loving.
He was very loving.
That does not mean, I mean, because he's a perfect human. So he was the most loving you could be. And so that he models out loving very different than what the world thinks loving means now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, and I think that, I mean, it says in the Bible, like, we are meant to be set apart. Like, we are meant to be light and salt. We are meant to be set apart from the rest of the world. We're not meant to mesh with the rest of the world. We're supposed to be set apart. Now, does that mean that we're violent? No, of course not. We are not meant to be violent. We're not saying that we should be violent at all. It is a speaking truth in love. That is what we're saying. Yeah. Like, you cannot expect to unite with a side that you are not meant to be one with. You are meant to stand out and be the light of the world. So just keep going and speak truth and love. And like, that's what we're supposed to do instead. So that being said, right, we do want to end on a note of like, what do we as Christians, what do we need to be doing going forward? Yeah. Knowing, like, how should we take this absolute horrific event, and what should we do moving forward?
Yeah, like individually, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing that I would like to say on that is that if people were not dead to their sin, if people were not dead to their selfish desires of comfort in this world before Charlie Kirk was assassinated, then if you saw what happened and afterwards, you should be dead to that by now.
You should have died.
You should have died on the same day that Charlie Kirk did.
Yeah.
To your flesh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the hardest thing for us to do. I think that in life we get comfortable and we don't like to go into uncomfortable situations. But if anything, Charlie was a model of putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and speaking truth with love. And I think moving forward, at least me personally, it has ignited something even further in me that I've already been, praying about, but this has definitely ignited something even bigger in me. I know that so I used to be fearful of Revelation and Jesus coming back and, all of that. Like, I never was one to say, oh, Jesus, come right now. Like, I always kind of stirred up some fear in me. But to be honest, the day that Charlie died, that made me not afraid anymore.
Or it made you not want to give in to that fear anymore.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it made me really ask the question of, am I willing to die for my faith? You see that happen. You see someone literally die for their faith. And I ask myself, am I willing to do the same thing? And genuinely, like, I had to think about it. And I think that we all now have to think about that.
And if we have to think about that, and if we are unsure of our answer, we need to seriously question how we're living our lives.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want to say is you said that it made you not want to give into your fear anymore. I know I've heard of a lot of people after this get really fearful and they've gotten really scared, and some people have not wanted to really go out of their house or just do things like they used to anymore. But I would say that's exactly what the enemy wants. That is exactly his tactic, is to implant fear into the lives of the Christian soldiers and get them to try to slink back and hide and not come out. The Goliath, I want to do a whole podcast on this later, but Goliath intimidated, or he tried to intimidate David, and he intimidated so many of the Israelites. I mean, they were insanely fearful of Goliath. And whenever David shows up on the battlefield, he turns that intimidation that Goliath was using on them back upon himself. And basically he was like, hey, like, I don't think you know what you're doing. Like, you think you know what you're doing, but what you're doing is going to lead to your head being chopped off. And
I will come
I'm
gather your head.
Yeah, I'm going to come over there, and you're not going to be intimidating people for very long, because you're about to be intimidated yourself. And that didn't make sense. But yeah. So anyways,
well, I mean,
what we have to do is we have to turn that intimidation back upon the enemy.
Well, there's a lot of people, and I still kind of struggle with this, but not nearly as much as I used to. But there are a lot of people still that I have talked to recently. Like one of my good friends, a few of my good friends still are very fearful of demons and Satan and the second coming and Revelation and what that is going to lead to, like the apocalypse and, you know, all of the evilness that can come with it. Like, there's a lot of people I know personally that are fearful of it. And like I said, I used to be insanely fearful of demonic things. Like you said, you know, the other day, like I used to not even be able to say the word demon without getting anxiety. And I think that I've come a long way by God's grace in that. But I think that what we need to know and what we need to be telling people and be telling other women, because I think women probably struggle with this more than men do, about being fearful of, you know, demons and darkness and Satan.
A lot of men struggle with it also.
Okay. Well, I think that we need to know that that's exactly what they want. They want us to be fearful of them, but we have absolutely no reason to be fearful. Jesus, God, that is what they shudder at. They shudder at just the name of Jesus. And we're a child of God and Jesus is with us. We have the Holy Spirit with us. And there's absolutely zero reason we should be ever afraid of any demon. We should not be fearful in the slightest. It's like, have you ever seen that image of like the little lion, like walking forward, like the little cub?
Oh, yeah.
Walking forward, and then you see the giant, like, dad lion behind him.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I think of.
Yeah, I know exactly. I gave a sermon a long time ago about...
Back when you were, yeah.
Yeah, about about going into battle and how we shouldn't be afraid. And it was on the topic of David and Goliath again. But how Goliath, the enemy, is not the only giant. You've got a giant behind you that's way bigger.
And is more powerful than anything on this world.
Yeah. So one other thing that I would add to what you just said is that the devil's been working nonstop for a very long time trying to get God's people silent, trying to get God's people to think that there is no war taking place, to sit back on the sidelines. And I think he's done an extremely good job at that. But right now, we have to realize that that is what has happened, but we can no longer let it happen, because whenever we submit to Satan's fear and to his intimidation tactic, to the tactic of the dragon, whenever we submit to that, then we're basically saying, hey, you own me. Like, I'm yours now, and you have control over me, and we have to turn that back on him. We have to make him scared. We can't be scared.
Yeah. One thing that I'll end on too is, so there's this really good pastor named Vlad Savchik, I think. If I'm saying your name wrong, I'm sorry.
No, it's something like that. He works for, he's a pastor at Hungry Gen. I think that's his church.
I don't know. I think
pretty positive.
I don't know.
He's a great pastor. I listen to him all the time.
So he says, this was his part, like I paraphrase a little bit of what he said in his sermon after Charlie died. He said, people die for Christ every day. This one hits slightly different. Charlie would go to places where nobody would dare to go. He fought lies. He engaged people's minds. He took down strongholds with God's truth. He worked to turn the next generation back to common sense rooted in scriptures. He was hugely successful. He was incredibly bold. And the message the enemy wants to share through his assassination is you should be scared. You should walk away from the battlefield because it's too dangerous to stand up for Jesus Christ. The devil cannot win debates, So he tries to silence voices like Charlie's. And I thought that was so profound, and that was like characterized exactly what's happening here. And we can't let that happen.
Yeah.
We have to be warriors, and women too. And I saw this other quote too from, oh gosh, I can't remember who, but it said, Charlie came to convert young men, and it said, Erica now comes to convert young women.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want women to remember too, is that we're not bystanders in this battlefield.
Yeah. Listen, I just want to say to all the men out there, that woman is a lot more manly than a lot of our men. Our men have to wake up. We got to match that, and not only match it, we have to go above and beyond that. That's what we're called to do as men, to be warriors. We have too many sissies in the church, not doing their job, not being bold. We got some work to put in.
Yeah, women are also not meant to be bystanders. There are women warriors in the Bible. Now, what that looks for you is going to be different from person to person. You need to pray about what you're meant to be doing, and you need to let the Holy Spirit guide you in that, and just be obedient to God, and be bold, and be truthful, and just stand on God's word and fight with what you can do.
I want to leave it on two things. One that I heard at church the other day, somebody said, your life is brief, your calling is urgent, and your purpose is eternal. We have to start using our voices. We have to start being bold, especially in our churches, because a lot of our churches are getting weak. The churches overseas, tons of them have a warrior spirit because they know the risk. They've had people that have died, that have been martyrs within their own church. And
they see wickedness and evil in different ways, much more apparent and visible ways than we do here. Here, Satan has to be a little more cunning, a little more deceptive, a little more like underground.
Yeah.
And in other countries, there's a lot more physical things happening. But that also is maybe slightly more dangerous because he's, slightly more unseen here, slightly more deceptive. That can be even more dangerous.
Yeah. The other thing that I think is really important to say, well, I guess I have two more. One is that we do need to pray. I don't remember who said this. I think I've seen this multiple times in multiple places. But just like how Charlie Kirk had enemies that were cheering on his death, which is just evil and wicked. If that's you need to repent and get right.
I just alright. That visual of Nathan Reynolds, and that's not funny because that's very true what you just said.
Yeah.
But what popped in my head, which made me giggle, was there's a podcast that we watched recently with a guy named Nathan Reynolds, a very interesting person. You'll have to watch it. There's this one part, he came from like a satanic cult, and there's this one part he's talking about the people that was in it in his family that abused him and all of that. And he gets very passionate and is like, I want to see them burn. And then he's like, or repent.
Yeah.
So that just popped in my head whenever you said that. And that's just, what he said was so serious and so moving, but like the way he said it, it just made me giggle.
Yeah.
So.
You did a good, you acted that out very well. Yeah. Nathan Reynolds is really interesting. We're going to talk more about him in the future for sure. It would be super cool if we could ever have him on. That'd be neat.
Yeah.
We'll see. So anyways, I don't know if I got to where I wanted to say this, but in the same way that Charlie Kirk had enemies that cheered on his death, we need to pray that demons also rejoice when we die.
Yeah.
And if we're not living that life, we need to start living it.
If you're not a threat, there's a problem.
I've heard someone say this, I think it was Mike Signorelli again. He said, if you're not running head on into the devil, then you're probably running alongside with him.
Dang.
And we need some more people running into the devil.
And you do have to realize, though, that being bold and being a warrior and entering into the fight, now we're already in it. Whether or not we want to be or not, we just are. That's just life. But running headfirst against Satan, it is a dangerous war. We have to be expectant that things are going to happen.
It's extremely dangerous, and it's extremely dangerous, especially whenever you're not spiritually equipped. Whenever there's a sin in your life that you haven't dealt with yet, you need to get over it. A habitual sin, whatever it might be. we got to get over it
Mm-hmm.
because the devil will use that against you,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you are trying to follow God and you're trying to be a leader in a place, and you've got something and you're not right with God fully.
Mm-hmm.
The devil will exploit that,
Mm-hmm.
and you will come crashing down.
Yeah. Now,
But
we're not perfect,
no,
right? I mean, we all sin. We all fall short of the glory of the God.
no, I'm just
God.
saying you got to get serious.
But you have to get serious, and you do need to be repenting every day. Like, I mean, it needs to be a like.
Now,
You just need to be.
You don't got to go OCD about it, but I mean, like,
no, like, don't become obsessive. It's not like, okay, if I do this one thing, I have to do this, I have to do it. No, like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying just know God, spend time with Him,
yeah,
and just listen to the Holy Spirit. That's what I mean.
yeah,
I mean, and if you know of a sin that you struggle with, seek out for it.
yep,
Because sitting in it opens doors for evil to creep in. And I just say that not to scare anyone, or not to, not to freak anyone out. It's just, and again, I'm not saying you have to be OCD and be freaking out about everything you do, because we're not perfect. We are sinful people. We're gonna sin every single day. I sin every single day. You sin every single day. But just know God, lean on Him, and listen to the Holy Spirit.
2 last things. I think I've said 2 last things multiple times already.
10 hours later,
yeah,
just 2 last things.
One of them, we have to get loud. We have to start using our voice like Charlie Kirk did. And then this is an extremely powerful quote. Our revenge, because we have a lot of people that do have a warrior spirit that want revenge.
And are angry, have righteous anger.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's got to be done in the right way.
Yeah.
Our revenge will be revival.
Yeah.
And revival's not coming. Revival is here if you choose it.
Yeah.
You have to wake up and you got to choose revival every single day.
The only thing that I'm fearful of is just, I don't want everyone to forget that this happened in a month. We need to be turning away from our past selves, and we need to be moving forward in faith, speaking truth and love, and being bold. And I don't want this to just blow over in a month or two. Now, I know like life goes like this, and that's what happens, and that's life, and that's okay, but we have to do our best to be faithful and to be bold and to keep moving forward. And I pray that we continue that.
Yeah. Here's the last thing I want to say. I want to finish this off with this. We have to start getting uncomfortable. Our theme for Dragons Are Real, kind of our setup right now, we hope to make it way better, but it's kind of the Lord of the Rings type fantasy feel. You've got, we have this Shire Lego set over here. We got a sword over in the back. Holly's got some greenery type stuff.
It's not done yet because we weren't ready, but
yeah. But anyways, with the Lord of the Rings, it starts out with, well, actually, both The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings start out this way in the books. You have a hobbit that lives inside of a hole, and inside this place in the Shire, it's a place of comfort, and it's a place where everybody is just at peace and at rest, and they're just in their books, doing their thing, in their own lives, doing things that really is all about themselves. And what Tolkien tried to do was show that there is a huge war going on outside of your little household, and our job is to play a part in it. There's a war going on, and we have to join it. It's our responsibility.
Well, it's not our choice. We are in it.
Yeah, we are in it.
But we
can either sit on the sidelines, waste our lives away, or we can get serious about our fight. And in The Lord of the Rings, you have these hobbits that come out of their comfort place, their home.
Hobbit hole.
Yeah, their little hobbit hole. They come out of it, and they fight the dragon, or they go and they defeat Sauron, and they go on this grand adventure.
Mm-hmm.
We've got too many Christians living in their comfort zone, and not going out and living in this adventure that we're called to participate in.
Yeah.
And we have huge roles to play, just like Frodo Baggins did, and Bilbo, Sam, all those characters. They thought they were nobodies, but they were really great somebodies, and the enemy was so afraid of them, realizing their potential and realizing the destiny that was within them.
Yeah.
The devil's afraid of that within every single person. We have to get to the point where we recognize that and we go out and we change the world and make a huge difference and fight the enemy with the Lord. The Lord's already fought the enemy. He's already defeated him, but don't let the devil think that he has any chance or hope of winning a battle.
Mm-hmm.
We
We are a child of the one true King.
We got to go out. We've got to save
like
souls.
Yeah.
We've got to change the world. We've got to change our culture. We've got to change our families.
Got to change our government.
Got to change our government. We've got to make changes happen. Charlie Kirk was someone who did.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to follow in his footsteps. It's time for us to be the next Charlie Kirk, to carry on the torch and to finish this mission strong.
Yeah, so good. So we are going to go ahead and put a link to the description, a link in our description to donate to his family, because I mean, there's a lot of people wanting to know what they can do. There's not much we can do actually for his family just because we don't personally know them, but we'll at least put the link to donate to them, to Erica and their kids. In the description. We'll also put a link in there to join Turning Point USA if you guys have not yet. And just so you know, you can join even if you're not a college student or a high school student. They have
That's where we got this hat, right?
Yeah, so we got that whenever we joined, and there are high school chapters, there are college chapters, but there also are chapters outside of them. There's faith chapters, there's Turning Point action chapters that's more political. There's like a mom's chapter. There's a whole thing. So there's you can join even if you're not a student.
So basically, go out into the world, do something that Charlie Kirk would do.
Be a warrior. Be a happy warrior.
Be a happy warrior.
Yep.
And I think that's how we'll wrap this one up.
Yep.
Dragons are real. We hope to make many more of these. Talking about spiritual warfare, getting you involved, getting ourselves involved, and being the warriors God called us to be. Hopefully we'll have another episode out soon. If not, it'll come out later, and hopefully it's not as intense this next time. Pray for Charlie Kirk's family.
Yeah.
Especially his kids and his wife.
Yeah. Definitely.
Till the next one. All right.